Hey folks, Elaine Marolakos Edelson here with AstrologyMojo. I am coming to you from an Airbnb in Portland, excuse me, and makeshift desk in front of a lovely little fireplace. So I hope you're doing well. Today we're talking about the Mercury in retrograde in Taurus. It's happening April 20th, 21st to May 14th, but then add, 10 to 12 days to reset. Um, People will say a lot of times that, oh yeah, oh, it must be Mercury retrograde. The planet goes retrograde. A lot of planets go retrograde. The Earth goes retrograde from if you're living on Mars or Venus or Jupiter, we will go retrograde because we're not actually moving backwards. It's just that the other planets on the ecliptic around the sun are speeding up on an angle. So it looks like, whoa, bye Mercury. Come join me, say hello. We're talking about Mercury in retrograde. And the things that I want you to look for, they've already begun. In astrology, the planets represent what's going on collectively and what's going on inside of you. And so had a long travel day yesterday, a little tired. And I hang out with my kid all night talking. But anyway, so yes. And I had mad hair this morning. But anyway, Mercury in retrograde in Taurus. Taurus represents the part of you that wants to be loyal, that wants to be practical, that is creative to any degree. I mean, everybody is creative, but through finance, through artwork, through decoration, through design, through aesthetics, through gardening, anything earthy, grounding, anything that helps you to feel like you are part of this earth. And that can even mean, you recycle some stuff instead of just dumping it in the trash. I mean, it could be that simple. For the most part, the thing that you want to get a handle on is how to stay grounded while expanding through your spiritual awareness. Because Taurus is, one step forward, two steps back kind of energy sometimes. Now, a Taurus rising sign is a bit different. They will jump in head first a lot of times, especially in romantic relationships or with people who just bring them that feeling of, oh, I could just breathe. I could take a break. I like in this, I'm just going to turn the camera and the computer. I have this funny makeshift. I'm on top of a hamper, a pillow, and a Rummikub box because there's no real table that I can use in the living room. But the picture window with all the plants, and there's plants everywhere here and crystals, it's just amazing. And it's so aesthetically pleasing. I mean, look at that. That is my view. And it's just so calming. And I'm a Taurus. And when I start to spin, especially when I travel, or I have things to do and I've got to organize my schedule, that's when I start looking at, okay, wait a minute, I need to ground with something. I need a rock, a crystal, a deck of cards, plants. And the day before I left to travel to Portland, I could have been doing a lot of work, but I went outside and I started, we have a lot of weeds in Arizona, but I don't use nasty chemicals. I use cinnamon. So I was spraying cinnamon on the weeds that I don't want. And I was plucking the rest of the stuff. So I was just like on the earth and it felt so good to be there. So I want you to realize the times when you start to spin, and that spinning can reflect itself in your thyroid, in your throat area, in a lack of certain vitamins and minerals and deficiencies, and you'll start to see physical evidence of these things. So let's say the edges of your eyebrows start to itch. That's a thyroid thing. Let's say you have a lot of hangnails on your fingers or your toes. That's a selenium thing, which is a thyroid thing. Let's say you get like cracks around your mouth. That's a vitamin B2 deficiency. So when your body is physically drained and you start to feel airy and spinny, it's important to ground yourself, especially during this retrograde. Now, any retrograde, and when any planet goes retrograde, it's great for you to recognize, oh, and let me show you what it looks like. I'll set it up this way. Hang on. when any planet goes retrograde, and this is the date of, let's see, this is May 5th when we are having a lunar eclipse in Scorpio, because it's directly opposite this retrograde. And this particular retrograde in Taurus, here's the Taurus lineup for May 5th when we're having the Scorpio lunar eclipse. And right before that, next week, we're having the the Aries solar eclipse on the 19th, 20th, depending on where you are in the world. And that is at 29 degrees. And the Mercury retrograde is around 9 degrees, and it just moves back and forth. It doesn't matter the degree so much as it matters the pull and the feeling of, I feel pulled in two directions. So you want to look at your chart and you want to see exactly where the Taurus lineup is, which house it's in, and what is it opposing. Because those are the topics that are going to be most prevalent during this Mercury Taurus retrograde through the 15th of May, but add another 10 days because, you know, we also have the two solar eclipses, the solar and the lunar eclipse. And so this feeling, this pull, and because Taurus is an earth sign, Capricorn and Virgo will and Scorpio will probably feel these things the most. But also because the earth wobbles back and forth, right? So anything that is a polarity, and the eclipses represent polarity and this magnetic pull, you really start to feel like, what does Bilbo say in The Hobbit? What is it? I feel like, to Gandalf, he says, I feel like too much butter spread over bread, something like that. It's just like thinned out, and you just need to get a grip, and you need to be aware of, and let me just make this bigger for you. You need to be aware of, that's not working. Let's try that one. Oh, that made it smaller. I'm sorry. That didn't work. Okay, let me go over here. You need to be aware of that pull because the South Node is also in Scorpio. So what do we have? We have the Aries Solar Eclipse, 29 degrees, the April 18th, 19th, and 19th, 20th, depending on where you are. But we're already in it. We're going to feel it for months. And that's a pull. And then the Scorpio Lunar Eclipse on May 5th, already in it. We're going to feel the pull. And that pull might be, I just feel weary. I just feel tired. I just feel like I can't get my thoughts together. I just feel like I'm spinning. Or I just feel like I am so laser focused on one thing to the exclusion of all else. We're going to see a lot of that in this Mercury in retrograde. You might feel so entranced with something. You're learning a new skill that might deal with design, house, a decoration, refurbishment. Maybe it's getting computer stuff together because we've got Pluto also making angles to these things. And so in Aquarius. And so we might feel like I need to upgrade my technology. Okay, word of caution, keep your receipts, because sometimes, we go squirrel with all this energy that we feel, but it's not controlling us. But definitely with the sun, the solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse, we feel the pull. And so you want to just not jump to conclusions, number one, or assume that everything is going to stay the same, number two. Okay. And a point in fact, I was on the airplane yesterday, and this travel computer is a MacBook Air, and it's quite old. I've had it for a long time, but it works great. And the cord, I had this feeling a couple of weeks ago. I said to my husband, eventually I just want to get a new cord for this MacBook because it just feels like, I don't know, it's old, It's always good to have another one on hand. But the feeling persisted. But I was so distracted doing so many other things that I didn't make it a priority. What I did make a priority was updating things on this computer so that when I traveled, I had all the passcodes that I needed for all the online stuff that I would be doing while I was away. And about a half an hour before we landed in Portland, Mike, I was on my computer and I was watching something in the in-flight American Airlines program, and the whole computer just, that was it. It stopped working, and I had it plugged in. And I was like, "What?" I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So I spoke to my husband last night, and I told him what was happening, and he like immediately researched and, okay, we're gonna, said, well, which address do we send it to? And it was like a flurry of activity. But I'm getting a new charger tomorrow, and and I can always return it if it doesn't work. And then we found out that there was a power outage in this Airbnb. And I kept saying, my computer's not charging because the light's not on. But it actually is the charger. But on top of that, we had a power outage and it really wasn't charging. So a lot of different elements are going to come into play that are very concrete and very real. And the owner of the place came right away, and fixed in the breaker box. So we had our needs met. So I want you to start assuming that needs are met, that there's going to be a flurry of activity generated by you and everyone around you. You're the one creating your own reality, so that when something happens, it's not random. It's not because they did something. It's because you are emitting a frequency that the brain emits a frequency. This is scientifically proven. The pineal gland is made of rhombohedron shaped crystals. So it almost looks like a Fibonacci pineapple. And then when you light up that beacon and you send it out into the universe, what you're thinking, and you start obsessing, that's the Scorpio energy opposing the Taurus energy. It's time to let something go. And this thing could relate to a feeling of guilt. It could be remorse. It could be the ending of something so that you open up in other areas. We can't be dragging our stuff with us everywhere we go. It's like we're hauling our crap, and you might just suddenly decide to purge an emotion, a relationship, a family tie, an apartment, your clothes, like something purges so that you clear the decks. Okay, so it's reflected here, and we're highlighted. I don't think you can see it. Oh, there it is. You can see May 5th. That is going to be the Scorpio Lunar Eclipse, and it's opposing the Mercury in retrograde and the Sun. So, and of course, it's opposing Uranus as well, and the North Node. So this energy is going to be, where do I want to go? And all the details start to come into play. So you might, and it's regardless of whether you are Scorpio or Taurus, sun, rising, or moon, or Aries for that matter, sun, rising, or moon, everyone is going to start facing endings and beginnings in much more apparent ways. We are always facing endings and beginnings, always. You go to your refrigerator to get the half and half for your tea or whatever. And it's like, oh, I'm running out. I need to go replace it. It's an ending and you got to go fill it. But the next time you go to the store, you might get a different brand, or you might, in that interim, you might research, oh, wait, they're using carrageenan. Oh, I'm not going to use that brand anymore. Carrageenan is banned in Europe because it causes gastrointestinal difficulties. And so I actually called, I think it was Shamrock Farms. No quoting me, but I don't use them anymore. And I was like, why are you using carrageenan? And they said, that's just the recipe. And, it's considered safe. And I said, not in Europe. And it is proven to cause gastrointestinal difficulties. Why would you add that product as a thickener to your half and half? I can't use it anymore. So they said, well, we have used it for a long time. And I said, has it always been listed on the bottle? So it's like, I don't want to engage in a conversation with someone where the end result is, I'm just not going to use the product, but thank you so much. I'm glad I'm aware of it. So now I'm more aware. And that's the point. You don't want to argue, because Taurus energy can have a stubborn stance and very possessive of their information. It's like, well, you said it was going to be 4 o'clock and now it's 3:55. So What's the, but yet the solution is, but it's not a problem. We can fix it. Can't change the time, but let's not focus on what isn't happening, is my point. Does that make sense? Come join me, say hello. We're talking about the Mercury in retrograde in Taurus. That is happening April 2021 through May 15th. Please add 10 to 15 days either side, because the perception that's happening within us is about what feels grounding, what is taking us off axis, and why are we choosing to hyper focus on something that does not serve. So if you want to talk about the thing that doesn't work anymore, oh, I bought this coffee cup and it came, 3 of them came in the box and 1 was chipped. And that's the story you've been telling for 6 months since the last set of eclipses. Whatever you put your focus on, that's where the energy grows. That's where the energy grows. And so where would you like things to grow? Remember, hey, Christy's here. Hi, Rhonda. Remember that the Taurus is an earth sign, and it helps. It's the part of you that helps you to feel grounded. Now, I have friends who have a lot of air and fire, and they could travel all over the place, talk about how exhausted they are, have thyroid issues, get dizzy, feel dehydrated, but yet they still book another trip. That amazes me. I don't know how they do that. I take one trip and I need to lie down after. It's just like the world spins. And so we're going to feel it regardless of sign, rising sign or moon sign. What I want you to do is to focus on what you're obsessing about and let it go and give it up. Because the moment you cut, and I like pulling the aqua threads from your body and cutting them and saying, I release you, I bless you, and I release you. And the very next moment that thought enters your mind, find a kaleidoscope to look at. Joe Dispenza has a great one. It's a gold and black one. And a kaleidoscope energy really helps you to see, because it comes towards you and it moves away from you simultaneously. So it really helps you to detach from mainstream thoughts that are fixed. So we've got Scorpio and Taurus is very fixed energy, combined with the Pluto. Look right here, we've got Pluto in Aquarius, and it's going to be squaring. It is squaring the South Node and squaring the North Node, but also that energy is just like, but you said, or how could they do that? Well, it's been 5 years. Why are you still talking about it? Let it go. And it's not as easy just to snap your fingers, although the Scorpio vibe is really great sometimes in purging. And Scorpio is guided by Pluto, purging the thing that no longer represents your future. So if you're talking about something that happened yesterday, last month, last year, and how it keeps happening, well, that's because you keep talking about it. And you keep feeling there's some part of you that is still attached to the story of it or the disappointment of it. And we all have that, me included. So, you buy something and you think, oh, this is great. And then you try it on 2 weeks later and it's past the return date. And you're like, what was I thinking? Oh, it was an impulse buy. Yeah, it doesn't work for me now. It's a little tighter around the waist than I thought. And so there's no blame and there's no judgment. It's just being aware of where your energy is focused, especially during this retrograde. Let it be on something that grows, that is healthy. Maybe it's you discover aromatherapy or homeopathy or botanicals, or you set up a little garden area it doesn't matter if you have a tiny apartment or a sprawling estate. You set up a little tiny garden and you can put miniatures in and make like a whole little terrarium or something that represents you being grounded, you feeling connected to something greater. So as a physical, your physical body is your physical aspect. Let me just come out of this for a second. So your physical body is your aspect, and but your energetic body is taking it all in, right? But you're the one who's generating That vibration, as I said earlier, the pineal gland with the crystals is sending out a frequency. And then your heart is the magnet and you pull it back to you. So what are you thinking about? What are you constantly thinking about? And then what shows up in your world? That is evidence of what you've been thinking about. So people might say, well, I'm not thinking about a car accident, or I'm not thinking about, that thing that was so sudden and unexpected. Okay, some part of you is emitting a vibration. So all I'm saying is that vibration over time carries weight and it comes back in physical matter. So you are manifesting as we speak with every thought, feeling, breath, every past experience. So to help minimize the past that you don't want to recreate, and to create new neurons in your brain that have different electrical charges that send out things, I want you to start segueing in a very healthy, present way. Okay, let me get clear on why I keep stubbing my toe. Let me get clear on why suddenly I don't like my job, or I don't feel comfortable, in this city or in this apartment or in this house, or what this thing that I'm drinking anymore. So let me get clear is the point. Let me get clear on the thing that keeps showing up. And the moment you're about to repeat a pattern, here's what you might notice during this phase, this next couple of months, where we've been in it for over a month already. But here's what you might notice. You will attract and bring to you people who are very similar from the people you're letting go of. And you might go, oh my gosh, I keep attracting, if you're into astrology, you might say, I keep attracting like Virgos, but this one's a little different. Let me pay attention so I don't recreate the past, because you have preferences. Your energy has preferences. And so you will keep pulling to you the same thing that feels familiar. Then you feel calm going, oh, wow, I just met someone at a coffee shop. We had a great time. We were talking. She's a Sagittarius with an Aries rising, just like my old friend. Oh, wait a minute. Let me think about that. I'm going to think about that. So, or you might attract to you like empty space where nobody's calling, nobody's asking anything of you. You're just kind of hanging out on your own. And what is the impulse? Is it to get distracted from what you need to be doing for yourself? And then you start making phone calls and sending out email and setting up all the overachieving pattern. So look at the pattern. What is showing up? Whatever shows up physically, it takes a while for things to show up physically. So if you say, oh, I'm going to get a new job. I hate this job. Okay, watch the extremes. And you might say, I've had it. Well, how long have you had it? Because you probably have had it for months, maybe years, and now you've reached a breaking point. And when you reach that point, you want to make sure you pay attention so that you do not recreate the same thing in another location. Does that make sense? Does this help? I hope this is making sense. So I don't have any of my stuff. I just looked around for my card decks. Although there is a card deck here, I didn't care for it. I'm going to highly recommend that during this retrograde, you follow. This is something Abraham Hicks has said I used to listen in my early 30s for over 30 years. I took that information and I incorporated it when I used to trance channel and go, yep, I'm with you. Right there alongside you, collective. I get it. And so take that moment that is and ask yourself, what am I generating? What frequency am I generating right now? And if it's a negative, woe is me, I'm frustrated, I'm stuck, that's okay. That's where you are. But we're going to start to bridge it. We're going to bridge it. I've talked about this before. We're going to bridge it. And Bridget reminds me of Gidget. And this is where my mind goes when I go squirrel. And so that's just like a kaleidoscope. So it's like, hey, this frustration feels like that time with the other person, but we were having that watermelon at that party, and you see it's going to be like a period. It's like a sentence without a period, and it's going to take you around the block. And I want you to stop like on a roulette wheel at a place where the ball is going to bounce and it starts to feel satisfying and good. Where you may start out thinking, yeah, I'm just so frustrated at this job, with this person, with my health, with the blah blah, and I have to make a change. And the last time I made a change, I spent all this money and it didn't work, and here's all the negative stuff that starts to come out, and but then you get distracted by somebody who walks by with a coat, and you love the color, and you're like, wow, I wonder let me just go to Amazon. And that squirrel is going to be so beneficial for you to get out of that negative spiral that's taking you somewhere non-productive, because it's only going to help you recreate your future. So if you want to know what your future is going to look like, don't make any changes. Just look back and go, oh yeah, that's what I did. And I'm just going to keep doing it, because those are the neurons in your brain that keep firing, and they send out frequencies, because we are energy first. We are energy first. So to bring it all, does anybody have any questions about this? That during this Mercury in retrograde, when you go squirrel on purpose. Let your mind wander like a kaleidoscope, and go to YouTube and look for the Joe Dispenza kaleidoscope. It's black and gold. And I want you to gaze exactly at the center. Just gaze at the center. Shut off your phone, shut off all the distractions, gaze at the center, and watch where your mind goes. And it's going to go to, all right, I'll give it 3 minutes. Oh, wow, that's really cool. Wow, my eyes want to go that way, but I'm going to gaze at the center. And you keep gazing, and then suddenly the feelings come up, and it's like, gosh, I don't understand why they didn't like the project that I worked on. And then your mind's going to go elsewhere, and it's just going to keep kaleidoscoping. It's just going to keep moving. And that's how the brain works. Right? So you want to stop at a pinpoint when a thought comes up or a feeling comes up that feels satisfying. And then you're going to close your eyes, and you're just going to stay as present as possible with those feelings, that whole emanation of, I am so grateful. My mind is blown right now. I feel so aware. I feel so present. I feel so me. I feel so connected. Oh, you know what? I'm going to take a walk. I'm going to stick my feet in the soil. I'm going to do some grounding. I'm going to do some earthing. Or not. Or I'm not going to leave my chair. I want to stay right here. I just want to repeat what feels great. What is so satisfying? That soft pillow cover, that sound, the music that I listen to. And so when you do that, what you do is you alter your vibration, and that vibration helps to solve all your problems without you having to hyper focus on them. It works. Been there, doing it. Does that make sense? I wanted to end with a card, but I won't, apparently. So let's go back here. Let's see what we got here. Make it bigger. Nope. There I am. Okay. So, in fact, when I look at this and I see the oppositions pulling you into the center, find your center in as many moments as possible by feeling as satisfied as possible, as contented as possible, as you move out of a frustrated, tense, intense feeling into, I am a supported, sentient, celestial, eternal being. And I have the power. I've got the power. You understand? And then find something that flows. Hear the birds chirping. Hear the washing machine spinning. Listen to the coffee pot maker or whatever, the tea kettle. It's just something so simple that you can bring yourself to finding the center. And then those annoyances that are going to pop up, and they will, because there's parts of you that are being cleared out, those annoyances are going to have a different effect because they won't bug you so much because you're not attached to them. Now, you've heard of non-attachment, right? This is an art. And Taurus energy is very artful. So I'm going to leave you with that. And please join me next week during the solar eclipse. Let me just get rid of that. So this cute little Airbnb will not be here next week because I won't be here next week. But I'll be back at my regular time Thursday, whenever that is next week, because I don't have my calendar or any of my stuff in front of me. But next Thursday at 9:30 Pacific and Arizona time, and you figure out the rest. But also, here's the other thing I wanted to say. You know, for months I've been talking about redoing my website, and I was getting frustrated because it wasn't happening. My husband and I would just completely forget about it, put it over there. It was like on a conveyor belt going away from us, and we were focused on other things. Well, my husband went to a seminar last week. He's a marketer and a copywriter, and he's very advanced in technology, and he does all this kind of cool stuff. And so he was introduced to some people, and some people he knew, and he was learning more about certain types of technology. So we just signed up with a whole new program that's going to help us eliminate the piecemeal of what we've been doing in our business and the behind the scenes, where everything's going to be pulled into one company. And in that company, everything is going to be right there. So the delay that we were experiencing, and I started to question myself, like, am I not redoing my website? Like, what the heck is going on? And I was like, I'm focused on it. I'm going to let go of the focus. I'm going to trust that it's going to happen. And I just did. I made a list of everything I needed to change. And then suddenly I totally forgot about it. And so did my husband. And he manages all my stuff. So we were focused elsewhere. And I thought, okay, we were focused elsewhere and on places and things that spoke to us, that fed us. And then suddenly an answer arrived. It's through a group of people, through my husband. And he said, we're going to transfer everything to this one company. So we don't have to be doing the emails here, doing the artwork here, going over here for the links for the buy button, doing the thing over here. Everything's going to be in one place. So I want you to also understand sometimes that when there are delays, it is your higher inner being saying, shh, go that way. Just go have fun that way, because we're taking care of it over here and we're going to fix it. Don't you worry. So be as present as possible and trust that if you're force fitting something, back away. Back away from your life and put the frustration down. There is a solution. Thank you for being here, folks. Thank you for being, as always, I wish you peace, and I will see you next time.